Hello everyone, this is Foxfire. I'm going to quickly go through a couple of settings to help optimize your game. We are currently on the Kingdom Crafters 1.16.5 mod pack for a community server. And without further ado, quickly get right into it. As you can see, if you hit F3, you can see your frame rate up in the top left. I'm sure most of you know this already. Around 80 to 90 FPS. Now, this is not exactly going to be representative of people that are going to be watching this. I'm sure a lot of you are going to have old laptops and old PCs, or just laptops in general that are not meant to do heavy applications. So a couple settings to just look out for. Some settings to tweak that are very beneficial. Replace it at the day. There we go. So first off, in video settings, if you just go ahead and not a big deal to me, but a lot of the old laptops, I had a great experience just setting my biome blend to off. Go back to the game. A little bit higher. Used to be getting about 70 to 80 FPS. Or, no, I believe it was 80 to 90, wasn't it? We're just averaging a little higher than we did. Maybe only a couple, like 1 or 2 frames. But ever slightly. Not going to make too much of a difference on my computer. Next up, we have your render distance. No brainer. Shorter you view, less you have to render, faster it goes. I recommend setting this to 8 for low-powered PCs. And that still gives you a pretty semi-respectable viewing distance here. A little short for my taste, but hey, it's better than not being able to move. And now we're averaging around 100 frames a second. 90 to 100. Significant boost. Next up, we have, well, clouds. Because clouds are dumb. They should just be off by default. Hooray for no clouds. Now we're averaging... still fluctuating a little bit. By the way, here's a trick. If you do Control, Alt, and F3, you will get NVIDIA's game filter. Ignore that. Back to the game. We have our frame time graphs, which are showing you in the bottom left each frame showing you the spikes and the average in time in milliseconds it takes to render and actually push it. You want to see consistency, even if it's consistent lag. Even consistent lag is better than high jittery frames a second. So if my frame rate was going anywhere between 20 and 100, I would not like that. I would rather have a solid 30 FPS locked there. So in order to help with that, let's go to the video settings and turn down the max frame rate down to a locked 60 FPS. I'd recommend doing this last, actually. I'm kind of showing it in the wrong order. But if you are unable to get to around 60 FPS, even after all these things that I'm about to show, then I would recommend going down to 40 or 30 FPS and just making sure that whatever it is you're doing, you're getting a solid 30. As long as it's consistent. I move this back up to unlimited for the demonstration. The next thing, actually, on older and lower powered systems, I recommend turning Vsync off. Vsync simply tries to keep your frame rate at the refresh rate of your monitor. And if you cannot actually push that many frames to begin with, you end up doing more harm than good. And if I disable that, we are already averaging 120 to 130. A significant boost in frame rate. It's kind of laughable. I don't even know why you would want to enable that to begin with. But the next thing we want to turn off is, now this is going to have very limited effect, but it's only if you're dealing in, well, it's probably going to be more useful later on in the game where there's a lot of magic, and that's going to be your particles. Decreased is okay for most. Minimal, you're gonna have difficulty seeing when things have potion effects on them at all. So I just recommend leaving those alone most of the time, unless you are very desperate or your base has a lot of particles. Other than that, some people say map levels help improve. I've not personally had any good benefits from disabling those, but your mileage may vary. You can go ahead and try it, but generally wouldn't recommend it. Entity distance, it's just like your render distance. If there's a lot of entities, lower that. But that's going to make it difficult, and you're going to be able to see people after everyone else sees you. So I just would, if possible, leave that alone. So to recap so far, we have Biome Blend turned off. We have our frame rates locked down to a playable frame rate. Render distance turned down. Smooth lighting. Here is the next thing, I believe, which is going to be if you have a graphics card, some kind of dedicated graphics card in your PC or laptop, I would actually not bother tweaking these. You can try, but generally if you have a dedicated graphics card, then they will be doing the rendering, and you will not need to mess with the setting at all. Smooth lighting, if you turn that off, it just looks quite jarring, actually. If I look at it, how everything, it just seems to be kind of super bright and even more cartoony than normal. So I'm going to go ahead and re-enable smooth lighting. See how much you got your different shades and your hues and your gradients. Much better. But the next thing is graphics. Your different settings. You got fancy is what it defaults to. There's fabulous. There's fast. Now again, if you have a graphics card, I'd actually recommend changing it to fabulous. In some cases, you may see an increase in performance. Like right there, we're averaging around 130. We're now averaging around 140 to 104, around 150. Still fluctuates, but the average still around 140-ish. But if you do not have a graphics card and you're just on an old laptop, I recommend going to fast. So other than that, as a final one, as far as before we install Optifine or anything, is actually running the game in full screen. If you look at my frame rate, I'm getting 168 frames per second right now. And this is in windowed mode, so, you know, I'm out here, got my window. Okay? However, if I go in full screen and just allow it to not have to resize the pixels when it's rendering, and just run at your monitor's native resolution. Give it a second to load in. Now our frame rate's jumping to over 190. See, we're getting 200 FPS, 227. Just a substantial increase of at least 50 frames per second on the minimums, basically. So these are all of my recommendations. If you want, I can go through an advanced one when installing Optifine. I'll walk you through installing that into the pack and also the extra settings. But these are all the settings in vanilla Minecraft and also for the current Kingdom Crafters mod pack. If you have any further questions, comment down below or ping me in Discord, and I'll attempt to answer them. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.